Hey everybody, welcome back. Got a special video for you today. I've got an interview with a friend of mine from Foxnext, the technical director, AJ. So we're gonna go through a whole bunch of stuff. We're gonna talk about the game. We're gonna talk about some of his thoughts about some of the characters coming into the game. We're gonna talk a bunch of personal stuff. Just basically a general interview. Where you can kind of hopefully get a feel for me, you can get a feel for him, you can get a feel for the approach that some of the things that happened in the game, the way that Foxnext kind of approaches it a little bit. But again, I'm hoping this is something that you can, find informational, helpful, etc. It's a really long interview. Feel free to just listen. I will say that this is the first time I've done an interview in my setup in my studio. And I wouldn't even know if I want to call it a studio, to be honest with you. And so the lighting and glare is super jacked up. So you're gonna have to forgive me for that. I'm working on something if I do those again in the future to have something better, but it is what it is. So anyway, I hope you can look past that, listen to kind of some of the content in there, and you find it entertaining. So let me know one way or another what your thoughts are, and let's get to it.
Bring me WolverThor!
So for those of you who have joined us, WolverThor is here with AJ. He's a good friend of mine. Very smart individual, great football player.
Thank you. Was a great football player.
Yeah, we haven't played together in a long time. But anyway, so we're going to talk about a whole bunch of different stuff. Some of it might just sharing what AJ does. The game a little bit, and I don't know, maybe you guys will enjoy it, maybe you won't, I don't know, but I hope you have a good time. So AJ, I mentioned that we know each other a little bit. We played football together. I mean, at this point it was years ago, I think pre-kids and all that kind of stuff, but why don't you tell us a little bit about just who you are as a person, and we'll get into the Foxnext stuff in a second. But
sure. I mean, who I am as a person, that can be easy to sum up in 2 minutes. That sounds fine, right?
Yeah.
I mean, let's see. I've been working in the video game industry for a while now, since I was, 24, 25, something like that. Went to school for software engineering. I live in California, obviously.
Yeah. LA specifically.
What else?
Yeah.
Play a lot of games, as you mentioned. I play a lot of sports, or I used to play a lot more sports, and then now I pretty much just play basketball and snowboarding. Besides
Marvel Strike Force, obviously, what's your, and I don't know if you can say this, maybe we'll blurt it out, folks at Foxnext, but what do you think is your favorite game, even though I think I know the answer to this, but besides Marvel Strike Force, what's your most favorite games out there?
They wouldn't blurt. I mean, I can, everybody...
You guys do have that station.
Everybody at our company is we're all come from more traditional games backgrounds for the most part, or most people come from traditional game development. A lot of people worked at EA. I worked at EA before this. A lot of people, that's almost at this point we're pretty big, so you name a company, especially around Southern California, and we have Blizzard people have worked there.
Yep.
So for me personally, saying what is my favorite game of all time is
too big,
and it would change.
What about at the moment?
Change all the time.
What about right now? What is the game that you think, if you're just at home and you're I want to play something?
I know where you're leading with it.
Yeah,
you already know the answer to this.
I do know the answer to this.
I play a lot of Teamfight Tactics,
Yeah.
TFT, which if you don't know is basically like League of Legends auto chess.
Yep.
I play a lot of that with my wife, which is really nice.
Yeah.
Because we found a game that we kind of both like and can be kind of good at. So
if I remember right, she's better than you.
I don't remember officially saying that. I don't think that I would have said that.
If she watches this, you remember.
No, I tell her all the time at home that she is better than me at the game. She's really good. I mean, if you want to know ranking, she finished last season Plat 1. I finished Plat 2. So. Yep, but she's better than me. What do you want to say?
just barely. So I did play that game for a little bit, and I did enjoy it. So.
But yeah, I mean, I really like. That was my first actual playing of an auto chess game. I didn't play Dota auto chess before, and I kind of really got obsessed with TFT. So played it a lot.
The stint that I had with it, I think I was playing, and it was in between jobs. I was recovering from shoulder surgery.
Yeah. How's that going, by the way?
Not too bad. Thank you for asking. So, this is actually a movement I can do now. So it's,
Nice.
It's not...
Pretty close. It's getting closer to the actual... You can be a quarterback again.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's it's a little tough, but I'm hoping to get back to the field soon. For those of you who didn't know, I play quarterback on my what do you call it when you get old and try to weekend warrior, right?
Maybe, I don't know. I just called it my intramural football until I got hurt, and
Yeah.
I had to choose sports more selectively, I guess.
Yeah,
But,
my wife has been starting to say, a lot of other wives would tell you can't play anymore. But yeah, shoulder's doing good.
I mean, you gotta have something. You gotta keep going with some sports. Something that
totally
makes you happy. So
I agree.
Football. You're a good quarterback, man.
Yeah.
So you
well,
should
thank
just
you.
keep playing.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. I miss it. I miss the friends that I've got who play with it, and just that competitive nature being out there. It's awesome.
I mean, it definitely. I don't actually remember exactly how old you are, but probably around similar to me.
Yeah, we're very.
It definitely took a turn for me when I realized I just can't be good at basketball as much anymore. Like I can't be one of the best players on the court, or at least at the places I play anymore. And that was a thing just to get used to and get over it. But then once you get past it, you just have fun. Fun playing.
And that's where I kind of eventually turn it. And I know this is kind of getting off to the side, but this is about you guys learning about us and all that kind of thing too. So,
Sure.
yeah, I know, right? For me, there's a lot of 20-something-year-olds who play. There's some college athletes, and I'm not in my 20s. I'm not in my 30s. So it's tough to compete.
Yeah.
And, I do what I can, but it's definitely there was this point where it's kind of like, all right, well, as long as my arm can survive, I can still compete out here. And that's when I tore my rotator. I was kind of like, I'm kind of useless at this point. But no, it's going good. And, to the team fight tactics part of it, I was playing that game until like 3 a.m. when I was in between the jobs, because I wake up for whatever. And man, it was just fun, and it was just like I get so addicted to playing. And
the game is great. We both have friends that work at that company, work at Riot, and I constantly tell them, man, I'm jealous of the great game that you made.
Yeah.
Yes, we also made a great game. Thank you for playing Strike Force.
Yes. Marvel Strike Force is an amazing game, obviously, and that's why we were talking.
But because he made it recently and they just came out with it, and I was being like, hey, you guys did awesome. It's really fun game.
Yeah, it is a great game, and I agree. So that's kind of your general persona, and then you talk about the gaming industry, software background. You eventually end up at Foxnext, and it was funny. Like a quick story for you guys. So AJ and we probably haven't talked in a few years at least. And I reached out to you because of our mutual friend. I was like, hey, I'm learning about this game. I'm trying to I'm looking for a Marvel game, and you're like, oh yeah, and they're like, you should try this Marvel Strike Force game. I'm like, wait, you work at Foxnext? Yeah. And you're like, yeah. I was like, oh my god, I didn't even realize. So anyway, I did find that kind of funny that through our same mutual connection, we kind of reconnected a little bit. And
I thought it was super cool actually. I don't. Obviously, since I've been working on more, we'll call them mobile games or whatever, more free-to-play games, I don't get a lot of friends who are super core besides who work at the companies that I make the games at, that are super core into the games I make. So it feels good when I meet random people that are just like beyond just like telling me the game is good, but actually like really actually playing the game really core. So it's always really cool.
I mean, especially I think what we spending the last 2 hours, I think, just hanging out, talking about the game and
totally.
playing,
which is awesome. I told you I hit this is random. I hit like I don't know what you call like a milestone at some point where I was wearing, if you see, I have a Strike Force hoodie on.
Yeah.
I was wearing this hoodie I took my aunt to like a car rental place, and one of the car rental guys just like looked, at some point was like, dealing with my aunt, and then looked at my hoodie and was like, where'd you get that awesome hoodie? I was like, I work at the company. And then he was amazed, and he was talking about how he plays the game all the time. And
that's awesome.
And it was awesome for me because, like I said, I don't work on those games that much anymore, where people just randomly talk about how much they love them. So I was
I was gonna say it's got to be
feel good moment.
It's rewarding where you're kind of like, I mean, you put so much effort, and let's just forget everything.
Lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the hours, the time, the stress,
Yeah, if you guys don't actually know how long it takes to make this game, it's a lot.
Yeah, talk about that a little bit.
Let's see, we worldwide launched in March 2018, right?
Yeah.
It's 2019 now.
Yeah.
March 2018. We soft launched in November 2017. That means we started working on the game in some capacity, at least at the beginning of 2016. So, like, basically, we've been now working on this game for it'll be almost 4 years. Once we get to like,
that is
2020.
crazy.
Right? Oh, I mean...
Yeah, 4 years.
Right, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019,
Yeah.
pretty much in some capacity. And it's kind of insane when you think about it. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of effort. The team doesn't shrink, it just grows. So, like, we have more and more people working on it.
Yeah.
There's way more people working on it now than there was in 2016, obviously. So, and part of that is kind of hedging bets of like people want to make sure that the game is going to be successful before they invest too much manpower into it, right? So because just from a general like company standpoint, you don't want to hire a bunch of people to work on a game that then collapses and then you have nothing to do with them, because that's really feel bad.
Right,
that's not a good situation.
Right.
So usually you try to like gradually ramp up and make sure that you always have contingencies. More like, in other words, that you always have like, okay, the game will keep going for this much longer, and even if it doesn't go on past that, we have more plans after this, or have more stuff to work on. Just so it's just a generally bad situations happen when you grow too fast. You guys have heard stories in gaming companies before.
What's that called again? It's not the grind. There's a game.
Crunch.
The crunch. That's what it is.
That's a little different. We don't crunch. We don't crunch at our company. But crunch is usually what happens when people say like, well, when you just try to do too much too fast, and you just kind of unrealistic expectations of what you can deliver or what you want to deliver. It's just I don't really want to speak too much to crunch culture in games. It exists. We don't like it. My company doesn't like it.
That's good.
So we don't push it. We generally don't do it. In fact, we kind of do the opposite. I manage other people. My boss, who's maybe kind of, you think of him as sort of like the operating manager of the studio itself. The whole studio. If he sees people working too late, like, I hear about it, right? Like
what are they doing here still?
Yeah. It basically calls me out, calls all of us on it, and being like, why is somebody here till 9 p.m.? What are you guys doing wrong?
It's got to be like a work-life balance, right?
Right.
Which, regardless of the industry I think you work in, everybody wants a little bit of that. So that's good. So let's talk a little bit. So you mentioned your boss. We haven't mentioned your position. So tell me specifically what your position is, and I guess you can tell me technically kind of what that is, and then for the layman person like myself, what does that mean for maybe as a player? Like, so,
sure.
Yeah, what do you do?
I don't know about that second part, but first part, my official title is I am a technical director on the project. Yeah. Which kind of means I'm. That role kind of changes a bit depending on where the project is. So at the beginning of the project, I was definitely more hands-on, coding a lot of stuff, architecting a lot of like how we make the game. Like think of tech director as like a lead engineer, if you want to think about it that way.
All right.
Lead programmer, if you want to say. But so way back in 2016, I'm doing a lot more building up systems in the game, coding a lot of stuff, kind of just having a hand in kind of everything that gets developed within the game, and kind of understanding or putting together how everything will work. And organizing the work from other engineers and being like, okay, this is kind of how we will do different things in our game. Yeah. How things will work. And then as it gets later and later, and we're more into now live mode, I definitely touch much less code than I used to. Usually it's more of like putting out fires or that type of stuff if I actually have to code stuff, and it's way more about doing feasibility stuff for how if somebody wants to do something to the game, how realistic is it, how long it'll take, who should do it, how do we do it, that type of stuff. Just
So if I want to add some mode that's like the craziest mode in the world, and you're like, that just doesn't make sense because of...
Yes, you can talk to me about it, and I would tell you how easy it would be to do, how easy or hard it would be to do, and how long it might take us to actually...
So all the crazy ideas that I get, I should just send them your way, and you'll be like, that's the stupidest, it'll take forever.
No problem. A lot of times that's what happens on the real team. I'll say, I'll be like, well, this will take us 6 months to do, and nobody will...
No, it's fine. It's fine. Yeah, it's all good.
Nobody will care. But
that's funny.
But no, I mean, most of the time this is just back and forth conversations around like, yeah, I mean, we could probably do this. It's, you know, it's a medium amount of effort. It's like, what's the priority? How should we do this?
Yeah.
Everybody, you know, most of the time we understand there's a lot of stuff in the game we want to do. There's a lot of stuff people ask for. We have limited manpower to do it. And we're not only trying to like put in, you know, smaller stuff. We're also trying to put in like larger stuff, like big stuff. Right?
Yeah.
So
new features or
like large new features, stuff that some stuff that gets announced and you talk about, right? Like I can talk. You know ISO 8, right?
Yeah. We got to be careful a little bit there.
Yeah, I can't talk about too many features, but stuff that's already been announced, I can at least say the name.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I can give an example of like, cool, ISO 8 that has been announced as a potential feature. That is a large feature that gets worked on. That has been in development for some time, and then whenever we do it, we put out test servers for it. It's all effort, and it's taking manpower and energy away from something else that needs to get done. And also on top of it, we do care that it's good, that people like it, and it's not just that it's gonna get put out and people are gonna hate it or people are gonna be angry about it. So that means that's more effort. That means that like we can't just do a thing and launch it and say whatever.
It's going to be what it's going to be. And ISO 8 is a perfect example of that because, you know, I'm involved in the play test that was out. And, you know, like I mentioned, there's an NDA behind it. And, you know, got to be careful what I say here with the things. But you guys seem to be, you know, really, and I'm saying this broadly as you guys, you know, Foxnext, the folks that I'm talking to over there, with that, they seem to really care about, they took a lot of feedback. I mean, look, and I'll be open with it. And it's like, there's a lot of people who are worried about it community-wise. And they're just kind of saying, you know, is this good? Is this bad? I'm going to quit, you know, and all these things. So it's good to hear that, you know, from your side of it that, you know, it's like, look, we're thinking through these things. We don't want to just put it out there because it could upset somebody.
Yeah, and we're not, people at the company are not oblivious to how things look and what people think about it. I mean, people are even less, I'm even somewhat oblivious because it's not always my job to know exactly what's going to be the best community feature or the best feature out there. You know, I have some insights, but but most of the time it's other people that are way better at this than I am that know what's going on, and if they have legitimate, you know, investment in not putting out garbage, putting out crap, right? Like they want to make something good, and so when we're doing playtests like that, it's not so they can just check a box and say we're doing playtests. They want to care about they want to legitimately care about the feedback and do something about it. So which is why ISO 8 is still not released, right? They're taking feedback and being like, okay, we need to do more, right? We need to rethink how we're doing things.
And that's for me, you know, that I really personally appreciated that because there's a lot going on in the game at the moment, and not necessarily to go down this rabbit hole too much, but if there's too much where people get frustrated or burn out, etc., you got to be careful with that. As a developer and as a player, you know, you and I were talking earlier how I was spending all this time for war trying to coordinate people, and you're like, well, that's a very different kind of, you know, certain section of the community that not everybody has to do that.
Right.
And, you know, so you look at kind of a broad picture of everything, and you're kind of like, okay, well, you know, how do we do this to make the game good for...
That's a really good point of just generally, like, you talk about burnout in the game, and burnout to you means something that... Yeah, this is somewhat of a problem. This is somewhat of a thing that we have to care about and do stuff about. But what burnout means to you and why you experience burnout is different than, say, a mid-level player who's not a leader of an alliance, who's, you know, who's just playing every day and, you know, whatever, doing Ultimate 60% or something like that.
And it's fine, and they're happy.
And they're fine, and they're happy.
Yeah.
But they still might be going through these problems of, like, what we really call is low quality time in game, right? That we, like a thing of like, cool, what we want to improve is probably low quality time in game. How do we improve on this type of stuff?
And so expand on it. So low quality time in game, what does that mean to you? Like, how do you explain that a little bit?
I don't know that I don't think I'm the right person to
Really? Okay.
like to qualify everything that implies, but you can kind of work it out for yourself of just like you're talking about. It's why do people leave the game? Why do people burn out?
I gotcha.
And you can think of, well, there's nothing to burn out from if they're not having low quality time in the game, right? Like, if you're not spending a ton of time on things that you don't like.
Yeah.
If you are spending a ton of time on things that you don't like, that's a probable reason for you to burn out.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So, if for some reason, I'll go through hypotheticals here, like and stuff that's in the game. So, you've got Blitz and War and Raids. If for some reason 2 of those 3 things I just don't like, but I'm spending a ton of time on it, that's fueling that burnout.
Yeah,
kinda.
That's very general, because
super
that's
generic,
like
saying
like
the game
that starts to get exactly.
Yeah,
that starts to
the
get
game.
into like, right, like there's a limit to that where we can say like, I don't like doing raids and I have to spend too much time on it. I'm like, well, I mean, raids is a feature in our game. Like, it's tough to say.
Why?
I'm tough. Like, that's hard to grapple with sometimes.
Saying,
like, and sometimes we solve that type of stuff with new features, new modes, shaking things up more. Because sometimes that just comes down to like, I've been doing the same thing for too long and I need change of pace, right?
Yep.
Or I need something different.
Sure. So, semi on topic, but a little bit off. So, you talked about, putting out fires. What is and I'm not sure it's going to be the part we talked about a ways back, but what was the craziest moment you've been with the company that was related to something happening in game that seemed to be like a fire, or, just something was like, oh my gosh, this just happened?
I know you're already probing at the one thing, but I'm trying to think of another example besides that.
Yeah, because it's a little bit more obvious.
Right. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Sorry. So the one that you're pointing to was the Alliance Snap, which was a big deal.
Yeah.
So there are some what I'll say fires that are like that we'll say are bad, but they're not as big a deal because they're easily reversible, or there's something like, oh, this bad thing happened, but I can deal with it, or we can okay, once we understand what's happening, undo it, let it, fix it, let's go, or like, and it won't take that much time to figure out how to do it. Things like Alliance Snap are much worse because they are more about they're much it's like, okay, this bad thing happens, I understand what happened, I don't know how to, like, I cannot instantly fix this. I cannot just like magically put everyone back in their respective alliances at the snap of my fingers.
Right.
Unsnap, right?
Yeah, that'd be amazing. Go back in time, have this group of people just like they did in the Avengers movie, and then scooch over here.
And so we talk about tons of, I don't know how technically interesting like technical details are going to be, but like we talk about there are different potential solutions to this problem of like, we can say things, like, we do have backups of data. We could be like, okay, cool, just what if we hypothetically literally put all the data back in time to 15 minutes ago, and then they're like, well, I hate that, that's a bad option because people bought stuff since then, people did other things in the game since then, people are not going to be happy, I have to refund money, which I can't actually do. Okay, so what are other things that we can do? Well, we can try to look through the logs, that we do have logs, and piece together around the logs of everybody who actually got kicked from alliances, and then try to then piece together a script to put them back in their respective alliance based on the logs, which is what we ended up doing.
There you go.
But that's time, or that's not just something easy to do with the
so that's like the one end, the difficult end of the spectrum, but is something where maybe a blitz gets released and it's not working properly or something like that. It's like
those happen, and those are fires that are more like, okay, we just jump online and we fix it, or like
the 5-minute blitz. That was I don't know if that was, or was it the 5-minute blitz? It was an orb blitz. I don't know if I ever talked to you about this, but there was
a double blitz once, right? There was one where you got a duplicate blitz at one time, right? I don't remember. Was there a 5-minute one?
It was a 5-minute cooldown. That's what it was.
Oh.
Where you could just keep using the same team over and over and over and over and over. Is that something that, like, let's just say, I mean, is that something that you go in and potentially like, okay, this is a fire, we got to figure out how to resolve this?
Usually something like that is probably usually a data issue where somebody accidentally hit the wrong button or typed in the wrong thing into data and then pushed it live, and then we.
Have you heard of and I'll mention this, but have you heard of Decimal Point Jeff? Have you heard of this term before?
No.
So you made me think of this. There's another content creator. I'll give a shout out to Chewburger and Big Roy Awesome for this, but they always make they make this joke where that if you have an issue sometimes that, and when it just the decimal point in the wrong spot, where it's gonna okay. And I thought of that when you just said it. Is that
it's something similar to that or something like that, or sometimes it's like there's common issues where people will be like, oh, this data was meant to be on one of our development environments that's not meant to go live, but just for testing purposes or whatever, and then somebody accidentally pushes it through to the live game, and that can be bad sometimes.
Yeah, because you guys have different groups, right? That you kind of all, and I'm sure that it can be tough to navigate that.
We have a lot of different environments. I'm using the term environments, but it just only means just like a set of servers, right? Like a where you're playing the game, or like a set of places. Like the live one is the production one, what everybody gets to play on, but we can't use that obviously when you're developing the game. So we have a bunch of other ones just for internal use of like, here's where design just put stuff to potentially try out stuff with new characters. Or here's stuff. Here's one where Live Ops puts out stuff to like test new blitzes or test whatever new just key art in the game, like message of the day, that type of stuff. Like we have environments to test that type of stuff. And so sometimes maybe somebody puts something on there that's pushes it live and accidentally, and oops, and then we have to undo it. We try to get better and better, and it's not that it's not a big deal. I mean, we try to get better and better at dealing with it, but we also try to move fast and do a lot of stuff at once. Live Ops has...
And you're humans.
And we are human beings. And as Live Ops are human beings that have to do a lot of stuff every day in this game because stuff is happening every day in the game.
I know personally, one of the things I do for a living is read contracts and write contracts. And I can only imagine with code, because all I'm looking at a piece of paper that's with sentences, but it's very legalese. And I just eventually, at the end of the day, and days upon days upon days of writing contracts, my eyes cross. So there are times where someone will go, "What are you trying to say here?" And, so I definitely kind of get, I think, where you're going with that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, it's not like an easy. No, it is not just like a straightforward thing of like, how are you guys so stupid? How could you release this? Like, no, I mean, these, people are human. People make mistakes all the time, and we do our best to have testing in place to make it not happen, and I understand things slip through. The only thing I would say is there's a constant balance between how fast you go and how many things you change, and what percentage of the time you're going to eventually see a bug, see a thing come live.
Well, especially I can imagine in a game like this where you're having, I don't want to call them monthly updates, but you're having these, semi-frequent updates where there's a lot of stuff that you got to pump out. One of the things people say is, where's the content? Where's the content? Where's the content? And you mentioned earlier that you're like, well, we could do this, or we could do that, we could do this, or we could do that. And you kind of got to pick, but at the same time, pump out a bunch of stuff as quick as you can. Yeah. And when you're doing that, I could see where something,
And there's also there's just a constant pressure of basically like we have to do the regular stuff, the stuff that we consider regular stuff in the game of like every day you guys have to have new whatever the stuff you're used to be changed in the game, like new blitzes. You have to have different types of blitzes with different types of rewards. You have to have calendars. You have to have messages of the days. You have to have offers. You have to have make goods when we make mistakes.
The compensation stuff.
That's so we have to do that regularly. Like that's just a constant stream of cost that we have to do. There's also the like you're talking about the monthly cost that is just we cannot not put out new characters every release, right? Like that is just hands down, like you can't run the game without new characters.
That's fair.
And on a regular cadence. Like we can't have and So we can't be late on these kind of monthly patch updates because that essentially means that that's that much more time where we're going without new characters, which is not good.
Yeah.
So and then we're also trying to do the new stuff, like the fun, whatever random
different modes
different
or
modes
something,
like Isolate or whatever.
or anything else.
My brain is a blank on what's public and what's not, so I'm just gonna go with blank. But I would say even small stuff like the stuff that we put in the advanced section of the options menu, the settings menu, right? Like, and we put some stuff in there like the portrait mode and stuff like that, and potentially more stuff in the future in the next release too.
Yeah.
Like little stuff like that, that's important to us too, to do those types of little stuff. But that also kind of has to fit in the cracks of
anything
outside of all this other stuff.
And let's talk about the game a little bit more, and maybe yours specifically. So, like in the game for you, and if you don't want to share, kind of where you're at to be judged as a player or anything, but what are you kind of focusing on in the game? Like, what's your favorite part of the game?
Yeah, sure. I can talk a little bit about it without too much. So for the first, since I've been playing at soft launch, so that's like 2 years. For 2 years, I was pretty much a really, as core as I could be, pretty much free-to-play player. So I would be like, maybe I spent like, whatever something small is. I'm not sure. Small compared with probably a lot of the people. So I kind of by definition, that type of play tends to be really focused. Of like, I can't go broad. I can't be an everything type of player. Like, I have to focus on specific things. So for me, it was always just being an arena. So like I was. So my high watermark for the game was at some point being #1 on the beta shard of arena.
That's impressive.
I very quickly dropped off. So that's basically what I cared about with doing. Just trying to build up meta teams, like very specific meta teams, and then play with them. And then if another idea comes of like, I can tweak it a bit by adding Scarlet Witch or something to a Brotherhood team or something, maybe I can up a little 10.
I remember those days, Scarlet Witch and Brotherhood.
Then cool, I'll do that. But then, so that's how my focus was. What I'm not doing essentially is being a key member of a top alliance that can do 100% Ultimate 6. Right before Ultimate 7. Right. And then when I really kind of my bar, I guess my wall at some point as that type of player for me was right around when Gear Tier 13 and Ultron became more prevalent, like way more prevalent, kind of everywhere. And I just couldn't keep up at that point. And so that's kind of where I kind of hit a wall. And so for me now, I'm feeling like I can start to pass that wall again. Like we're slowly creeping in more and more opportunity for orange gear. And so I feel like I can get past that wall and get more towards this focused meta teams that can actually compete on arena. And so that's pretty much what I focus on.
I'm a big fan of arena, and I think that if you're going to focus on something, no matter what level you're at, focus on arena. I just think it is
it's a lot of cores.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? And people are always commenting who watch my videos or on my live stream, like, how did you get so many cores? And I'm like, I've been in the top of arena for over a year. And it's like not the top spot necessarily, but top 10ish.
If you can even if you can hit like top 50 in arena for like a year, like that's a lot of cores. You're getting a lot of stuff.
And
every day.
And if you get on around payout and kind of push and get as high as you can, and
to the point of like I used to be like I used to be in a slightly more core alliance than I am now, not super core, but an alliance that was weaker than me. And when Alliance Donation first came out, I was like, I'm the only one in the top 50 of arena here. I'm always having to donate core. I'm always going to donate cores because because okay, it's sort of like a share the wealth type of thing. Like I get it. So yes, okay. I recommend for new players
starting that arena focus, right?
I would recommend focus on something meta, whatever it is. I'd even say if you're brand new, I know they're not. I know they're not really meta right now, but if you focus Fury Shield, at least you can be average at multiple things.
Yeah.
And you can get somewhere on an arena team and somewhere in rating teams.
That's true.
And you'll be okay.
Yeah.
Even though they won't be the best at anything anymore.
You're absolutely right. They are really. It's like if you want to be at least decent in a bunch of locations, like that is a good team. You know what I mean?
To build out like some sort of base so that then you can be. I mean, I don't know. Whatever. You're better at strategy than I am. So like whatever tier.
What? Stop.
Whatever tier you get them to the point of like, okay, now you're at a place where I can just focus on the on an actual arena team that I could get to whatever top 50, top 10 or something like that.
Which I think is good. So now I don't know if you can, obviously we can't get into stuff that isn't public knowledge or anything like that, but of the stuff that's out there, we just know, we were talking about Sif and Heimdall are coming to the game. That's out there. We know Black Bolt's coming at some point. We don't know anything other than his anti-revive mechanic that he's just, if he kills somebody, they're not going to revive. But generally speaking, we also got Marauders, Fantastic Four still kind of out there. X-Men are still they're not new per se, but they're these more recent and kind of new known teams. Are any of them like, how do you like them? Are any of your favorite? Are you pushing towards any of them at all? Or
I don't, it's kind of an interesting question because like I think I'm, based on my type of player, right, like I take more interest in just what they might do to meta or what might just happen, right? So something like Black Bolt is interesting to me because I'm like, well, what could he do to the meta, right? Like how anti-Ultron is he? Because I actually don't know, right? Like you don't totally know until you don't foresee every single comp that someone's going to throw up, and what the actual top arena is going to look like until it's actually there.
And we were talking about before this, if you don't mind me bringing it up, and the Tech Wing, and I was like, so this Tech Wing team, and your response was,
what's Tech Wing?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
So it's just, to your point, it's like Foxnext, you guys, you could, Black Bolt or whomever, and all of a sudden someone's going to take it and form this totally different team, and that is something that is kind of cool.
And it's cool that it's not that Inhumans as a team comp by themselves are going to be bad. They'll be fine. They'll be good. They will be good. But that doesn't mean that somebody mightn't take Black Bolt by himself and put him in some other comp that is now completely meta and counter to some Ultron comp or something like that, and be like, oh, okay, this is now adding variance to top arena potentially. That I think is cool. Like I like variance. I like when there's not just like one single team, or one single or two single players that are two single unnamed players like Phoenix and Ultron that are
dominating everything.
That are just on every single team. And they still might be. I'm not going to say they're not going to be, but like and they still probably will be. But it's anything that kind of introduces shakeup is kind of cool.
And I agree. I mean, because we were talking a little bit earlier too about Sinister, who's coming to the game, and especially in Arena. So in my strategy is I made a comment, knock on wood, but I don't think I've lost with Sinister on offense yet.
Yeah, I love Sinister. Sinister's awesome.
Yeah, and it's just kind of like, okay, and you think about it, and a big part of the reason I haven't lost is because someone else has a Phoenix, and if that Phoenix is there, I can always clone her because she stealths everybody else. But as a defender, I'm like, well, am I going to not put Phoenix out there? So it is becoming where this part where it's the fact that you even have to consider that, I think is really cool, where it's kind of like.
And it also makes you consider putting him, even though he's not the best defensive character, it makes you consider putting him on defense because he'll still ult their Phoenix if you put a Phoenix on offense, unless he
clones the Ultron summon, which could happen.
Right, which could happen. You could get unlucky, or the other person can be tricky and try to not special their Phoenix first turn or something like that. It creates different,
which is fun,
different mechanics.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and it's kind of like you had the Brotherhood for a while, and that kind of shifted to a hybrid Brotherhood and Ultron Phoenix, and
and then there was there's Coulson out there too, which is probably like, obviously he's not turning into whatever top of arena meta character, but he's still interesting. He added something. He added this thing of like, okay, shield is not relegated to the back of the box now. It's back of the
box is fine.
Sure,
I think
back of the whatever.
somewhere back there. We're not thinking about
right
back of the head.
Yeah, right. Like they're, they still they get to maintain some amount of relevancy.
Yeah.
They're kicking around, and it's just kind of the type of stuff that revives things are more interesting. Or theoretically, at some point, Cyclops will get released.
Can we talk about when?
No.
Oh, fair enough. Okay.
But at some point, there will be a Cyclops. He may or may. I honestly don't know. Maybe he shakes up X-Men to be more relevant, or to be more of like a team unit. Maybe.
Oh yeah.
Maybe he's completely irrelevant. Maybe he's a must-have on every single team. I have no idea. But
and it is interesting because X-Men were touted as the best PvP team, and that I think that is technically true if you keep teams in specific teams. You don't focus on hybrids. So it will be interesting to see how what does he do to that team? Is it a raid dynamic? Is it making them even better at PvP?
Yeah. Also to be clear, I'm not a character designer, right? So people to know, like I don't make it sound like whatever our company is stupid and that just throws out characters and have no idea what they're gonna do. Like, no, I'm not a character designer. I could participate in a lot of playtests around new characters. I generally don't because I prefer to see it in game.
Yeah.
I can be surprised when it's there.
It's
and
like
look for myself.
It's very similar to someone like me when it comes in the game. You're just surprised to see it a certain way or play somehow.
So for my advanced knowledge, I see their kits ahead of other people and their animations and whatever. I see them, like, that's kind of the extent of it.
Yeah.
So now there are people at our company that have way more of an idea of exactly what Cyclops will do than I do, and do test lots and lots of teams around Cyclops with X-Men and that type of stuff, and turn ordering and what they can actually do.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see kind of how he shakes out, because I know people, myself included, are planning for him for a long time, and it's kind of like, but like you said, we'll see. It'll come when it'll come, and I mean, whether it's this game or it's life in general, just expectations. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's really what you guys have to deal with on a constant basis, except for you've got this community who's essentially, and I'm part of that community, who's yelling back at you going, what are you talking? Where is this? We talked about Cyclops 6 months ago. So
when did he get leaked?
It was a while ago. He was leaked a long time ago, and then there was the in-game art with it. And then the in-game art, I feel like, was maybe late summer. So it's been a little while.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a little while. But, there's a lot of different theories out there, and we won't get into that. But,
good. I can't confirm or deny.
See, there you go. Yeah, so it kind of is what it is at that point, right? We were talking about this a little bit earlier. Dark Dimension 3. You guys just in your, I think it's called Strike Team community update, talked about that. No date release yet. I think the guy who was talking about it, I can't remember his name necessarily. You might not have seen it, but he was saying that it's sometime in the nearish future, whatever that's going to be. He mentioned the requirements, some trait stuff, which we won't talk about that here, but the Gear Tier 14 stuff, that is a big requirement right now. You mentioned one of your first roadblocks was the Gear Tier 13 and the Ultron. How are you personally, or talk to me a little bit about Gear Tier 14 and what you think your thoughts are about it.
Sure. I mean, like I think I told you earlier, like for me, for my personal style of play, like Tier 14 right now is out of range, right, for me. So I just don't worry about it, right, because I'm not gonna hit it. Like I can do I think a little bit of what you were talking about earlier, of you kind of see the, I don't remember what you called them, but the
mini uniques.
The mini uniques, the new kind of
orange mats.
The new sort of orange mats, and I can buy ones that kind of maybe correspond to characters that I will probably Tier 14 in the future, right? Like Phoenix or something like that. Like I can buy those and be like, okay, cool, this will be planning for the future type of thing. Yeah. But because I know that by the time DD3 comes out, I'm probably not going to have a Tier 14 team. Yeah. I'm not gonna stress myself or
break the bank over something.
Break the bank to get it.
No, I think that's fair.
As a general strategy, what we talked about though is we did talk about this idea that, right, like Ultron is easier to get now, right? Like it is more, he is more prevalent. Tier 13 is.
You could argue you might be too easy if you have Minerva.
Sure. Yeah. You could argue that. Yeah. I mean that, like I said, that was one of my hurdles for the game. But it's a slow creep of when, okay, now orange gear, the orange gear comes in like a full row of unique oranges in I can't remember which stores.
Comes in a supply store,
War store and Raid store, and supply store have more unique oranges coming in. Okay, so that's one kind of little fountain for oranges that makes it slightly easier to hit 13 and maybe 14 in the future. Maybe these are just examples. Like I can't say like how other ways that we kind of can fountain and make this progression steadily more available. But that happens, right? Like that's part of the game is this power creep and how you make this stuff steadily more accessible and make that wall that I hit happen later and later type of thing, to the point of where whatever one person in the game can hit a tier 14 team and feel great and be like, and they should feel great, they deserve
it's like a sense of achievement, right? Yeah, because that's one of the things you and I have talked about with gaming in general, and you can talk about it with this game as well, but it's, if you make something too easy that somebody can get in a week, in a month, in 2 months, the game's not going to last. So it's this fine balance of, you don't want to make it too easy, but if you make it too unattainable, people won't try. So, and figuring out that balance, I'm sure it changes all the time, even within this game.
Well, it's even that bit of like too obtainable so people won't try depends on who the player is, right? Like,
true. That's actually a good point.
So that bar lowers, right? Like at the beginning, I want it to be, it's nice for it to be unobtainable enough so that somebody, the top players in the game, not only try but can achieve it and feel really great about knowing that they are the top players in the game, right? Like that's how you know that you're potentially a top player in the game, that you are not only able to hit this point and mark, but also figuring out meta strategies for Dark Dimension 3, right? Like they are the first ones to go through that and be like, oh, this is how you clear this more easily type of stuff. And they should, like you said, that's part of the longevity of the game, and then eventually ratcheting it down to making it slightly more obtainable so that more people try, and then slightly more obtainable so that more people try and get it. And that's really tough.
Yeah, really I can imagine. I mean, I even go back and forth, and I think we talked about this earlier. And when I first saw the Dark Dimension 3 trait requirements come out, I had mentioned to one of your coworkers over there, and I kind of was like, hey, get ready for some upset people. And but then I have seen plenty of people saying, no, this is good, and I don't want to be too much in the middle of my opinion, but it is kind of like, and you kind of want it to be like, okay, some people are going to be upset, some people are going to be happy, and you hope that most of the people are kind of just like, all right, no, this is something I want to push for and go. And I've seen some math and how long it's going to take, and I get that. There's certainly bottlenecks in the game with needing to be able to do things,
and the math will change over time.
I mean, like you said,
name something in the game that we haven't changed at some point in the 2 years that it's.
I'm not sure. Right? Yeah, I was like, I wonder what I could. What could I mention? That's a challenge for you guys, by the way. If you could name something in the game and comment below, I don't know. I'll give you a high five on the air. But that's a good point, and it's a challenge that you guys, I'm sure, deal with.
And we totally screw up sometimes. We totally mess up. Like there's not, again, we are human. We make mistakes. We, that doesn't mean that we're always right or we always make things exactly the way they should be. It's just that.
Well, I think even I think his name's Jason Bender. Is that his name? Mm-hmm. In his interview with who is Bender? Oh, Dorian. He's one of the other content creators.
Weren't you there in that interview?
No. I think I jumped in for a minute, but at the front end of it, and so I love you, Dorian. And I think Jason said this, so don't take this verbatim, guys, but I think I'm remembering this right. But even Jason, I believe he said, Minerva. He's like, we didn't realize that how amazing Minerva was going to be, and I'm not necessarily looking for your comment on that, but it was just I'm tying to that point where it's kind of like sometimes you just don't. It's like, oh wow, that was a lot different than what we expected, and sometimes that can happen.
And even at that point, I'll said like as a player at that time when Minerva first came out, I was still. Yes, I noticed that she was strong. Mm-hmm. That's just understatement, whatever.
Yeah.
But it was also one of those things where I was still at a point in the game where I could maintain whatever top 50 arena without her.
Yeah.
And so I'm okay. I'm like, okay, she's strong. I'm not a spender, so I can't get her to 6 stars or whatever, or 7 stars. It's okay.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna be okay here. Yes, she's kind of like a must-have to do raids, to do like super core raids. She's kind of a must-have. I mean, I now have her at tier 13.
Yeah. As everybody should.
She's kind of a must to do Dark Dimension.
Yeah.
Or at least to do Fear the Darkness. But
Yeah. The first two for
yeah.
sure. I mean, it's just, or I guess Fear the Darkness, because you don't have to be 6
Yeah.
stars for that one, I don't believe. But
yeah,
I forget the requirements now. It's been a while, but
yeah. I mean, if you don't have, I mean, I still don't have her at 6 stars. So I mean, if you don't have, you can still do Enter the Darkness without her, and then just get her to tier 13 and do Fear the Darkness.
Yep, and that's really all you need for that, and she is. I mean, and I think a lot. That's some people, talk about, and her, and it's people comment that she's the new Black Widow. I don't know if you've heard this at all, but
No, I haven't. But
so essentially the joke about it is like, so Black Widow for the longest time was unfarmable, and she was this amazing character forever. She used to be meta in Arena.
Yep.
Where if she chained and got bleeds on everyone, you won. If she didn't, you didn't. It's whoever's Black Widow pulled off that chain. But she never was farmable, right? Except for eventually she got, I think, into premium orbs. So now they call Minerva the same.
Wasn't she always in premium orbs? I thought she was always.
Maybe it was only in premium orbs.
I think she was only premium orbs and occasional sales.
Yes.
And occasional like real money sales.
Yeah,
I think that was it.
I think you might be right there.
Actually, and basic orbs, but you could.
Yeah. I think that's right. And
pretty
so
sure.
anyway, the joke is that Minerva was kind of the same thing. And
Yeah.
I'll be honest, like if I'm Foxnext and I own, I'm like, don't make that character very available. She's amazing. Everyone's going to want her. And if you get her too easily, it's going to make the game too easy. So, but yeah, Minerva is...
Yeah, I mean, and then, it's what happened with Black Widow, right? Like eventually, it's not that she's bad.
No, she's not bad.
She's like, but she's...
she's there.
She had enough time in the sun where you're like, you don't feel bad about working to build her up and feel good about you. I was super relevant in Arena for a long time with a Black Widow team, and you feel fine about it when time passes her by. Like she's some aging athlete or something.
Yeah, I know. Her prime is
is past. It's okay. It's and stuff happens, and maybe she gets relevant again in the future. I don't know.
Yeah, you never know. You never know.
Because like we just talked about, right? Like we who were you mentioning that? You're mentioning Ant-Man before.
Oh yeah,
Where it's like, oh, we like nobody thinks of this one character as relevant or anything like that, and one person comes up with some way to make him relevant.
Yeah, you fit him on a certain team. It's like something happens to him, and it's like Ant-Man with Venom and Brotherhood. I call it AVB. They can do good things together. So it's like, okay, well, and that can, like you said, that can happen with any character, and Ant-Man is a prime example.
Yeah, Black Widow is also the source of our. I don't know how long you've been playing, but do you remember? Were you part of the community when we, at some point, said we were going to nerf her, or we weren't really nerfing her, but.
Yes, I think there was a discussion about nerfing, and I think it was her, and people freaked out.
Yeah. So there was this uproar that happened when we, because Black Widow was ridiculous, like a must-have on every team, and Quake was also incredibly strong.
Yep.
Everybody had to have Quake and Black Widow.
Yeah.
And so we kind of said, cool, we're changing the, like, I'm trying to remember the quote. I think the quote was something like, we're changing the way speed works in the game. And really changing the way speed up and slow down works in the game, which rightfully so, everybody interpreted it as a nerf for Quake and Black Widow, which is what it was, and everybody freaked out, and we learned our lesson of, okay, we're not doing this. Like we don't nerf characters anymore. We, in general, like that just doesn't happen. People put too much time and effort into them,
especially when you're spending money on them.
Right.
So it's people get more sensitive.
And I am personally happy with the place we got to, and how how they designed the characters and how they balanced them to be more around. Okay, we don't nerf other characters. We just kind of find other comps or find other teams for you that can counter, or that can make other people relevant too, in addition to...
I call it the rock, paper, scissors dynamic, where it's just like, okay, this team's great and can beat this team, and then you introduce another team that can, and it's just like, well, wait a minute, and you can call it teams, players, whatever you want to call it. But, you guys are doing, I mean, it's to the point where I've got to track things, essentially, because it's become so, and there's so much.
And the beginning of this was very heavy-handed with Fury, obviously, where like it was just like, you must get this Fury team, and then that slowly crept into counters to Fury, and then slowly kept into counters to Brotherhood, and slowly crept into all these different ways of like, yeah, but Brotherhood is great for this, but it sucks in raids, so you probably want some other stuff for there. Guardians is now, by the way, super great, and now Minerva's here, so now you probably want Tech Guardian, or you want something else along those lines. So I think it feels good. I think it feels better now of we're in this place of introducing new stuff or finding synergies with other characters to kind of tone down other overpowered characters as opposed to just nerfing them.
Yeah, I found the way that you guys kind of bring in the new characters, or whether you're modifying a character, whatever you might be doing, it seems to be pretty good. I think every single update that you guys have done in the game has been amazing. I would say, with the exception, and this is my personal opinion, is I didn't love the Wolverine one. But I think I'm a little partial, being WolverThor and all.
It's the speed, right? I changed the speed.
And it had something to do with his special. I think if he's with certain X-Men, it crits more, or doesn't get, I think counter doesn't break it.
It's obviously hard for us to remember this because we still don't use Wolverine. So
that's what I'm saying. I'm like, and it's kind of like, and I'm super biased. Wolverine's like my favorite character in the game. So, but anyway, I mean, I do to the point is that I do think you guys have done a pretty good job of adjusting, bringing things in where it's like, okay, and things can change in the future too. Whether it's Captain America or Hulk, you guys changed a little bit, and you never know. It's something that, and I mean, the Marvel universe is endless. I've got an encyclopedia over there. We could go through thousands and thousands and thousands of characters.
I don't think we're gonna run out of characters to use anytime soon.
No, I think you're pretty good there.
I mean, we're still using, there's still X-Men to use, and we haven't even used them, and we're still using non-mainstream, like non-Fox animated series characters, and we have plenty of those, so there's
I mean, even also Bloodstone just came in, and it's kind of like a lot of people didn't know her. I played
Ultimate Alliance 3.
Exactly.
I played that too.
And it was kind of like, okay, I got introduced to her a little bit there, and when you guys said you were announced, I'm like, oh yeah, she's this this character, and you did Fantastic Four just came in, and that's a staple of Marvel, and there's still Spider-Man villains that can come into the game, and all kinds of different things, and it's mega villains, and
what character would you want? What would you want?
Any character?
Yeah. Character.
If I could pick any character to come into the game, I mean, the first thing that popped into my mind was Nightcrawler. But I'm a big X-Men person. I really like Nightcrawler. Yeah, he's just, he's a cool character. There's people in the Fantastic Four universe. I like Doctor Doom. I like Silver Surfer. Those are all very cool. I feel like they're a little bit more epic than, some other ones.
There'd be a lot of expectations around Silver Surfer
time
if you put him into the game.
Yeah. So whereas Nightcrawler, I think he'd be, I feel like he'd just be like a potential real cool, fun, different character. I would expect his, and this is a suggestion for any Foxnext people watching, really hard to hit. You can't really count. Not getting counter. He's just very evasive. Might not hit really hard. A lot of piercing. But yeah, I think just putting me on the spot like that, I think Nightcrawler's the first one I could think of. I'd love to see a Doc Ock too, I think.
Oh yeah.
He is a Marvel staple forever.
Another one would probably have some expectations around this. Well, especially since the last Spider-Man game, which I played, which is really good, by the way, the Spider-Man PS4.
Yeah.
Especially around that game, and just I think a lot of people tend to like the Spider-Man 2 movie. Felt it was like one of the actual good Tobey Maguire ones. So there'd probably be a bit of expectations around Doc Ock.
I think so too. And they did a female version in the Spider-Verse, which was fine. Right. And that movie I personally love.
Love that movie.
Yeah, it was done so well.
Spider-Verse was like a great movie. I love that movie.
I've watched it a ton of times. I've let my kids watch it who are 5 and 2 too.
Spider-Gwen.
Spider-Gwen's another good, Spider-Gwen, get Spider-Gwen in the game. That's another.
I've been beating that drum a while.
Yeah, see, he's trying.
See how it goes.
Yeah, I'd love to use her if she got to be. I mean, Spider-Gwen's City Legendary. Take that back. City Legendary. Would she be a city, you think?
City? I don't know. I mean, I don't.
What would her trait be?
I mean, how do you not? Are you saying she's going to be City Spider-Verse? Like you want her
No.
to be like you want her to take away Spider-Verse and make her City?
Well, I mean, so you've got the traits. There's or is it the origins?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, that's not.
Because I think she can.
It's not a thing that she can't be both. But I'm just.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Would you want her to fit to both teams? Would you want her to be?
Well, I'm thinking of Dark Dimension 3 in the city, the late city nodes, and some of the conversations I've been having are been defenders. People are like, well, all I have is defenders. Who else am I going to use? Sinister Six, blah 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 blah. And so you showing that as I was like, you know what? I love Spider-Gwen. Look, Shuri was legendary, right?
Who doesn't love Spider-Man?
Exactly. So you make Spider-Gwen, and you guys heard this here first. This is my idea / AJ's. I just think, yeah.
I promise you, other people like Spider-Gwen besides the two of us.
No. Do not give them false information. This is just the two of us. We are thinking of this for the first time. But I think she'd be a cool kind of city. I don't know how she'd fit in with everybody else, but part of the conversations that have been happening since the Dark Dimension 3 trait requirements in city is someone going, it'd be great if Foxnext introduced a awesome city legendary character. I didn't think about it until you just did that, and it kind of led to the path. I'm like, oh, you know what? Spider-Gwen is kind of a fun character. She's legendary, or she's city, and she did legendary like you'd think, like with Iron Man, and
so you would just want her to have the city trait, but not necessarily have like a pre-thought out city team built around her.
No,
not
necessarily.
Just being like, she's city. That's good enough. Like,
yeah, well, I mean, ideally
she
she'd have
good,
some synergies with some city folk. You obviously should have a Spider-Man and Miles synergy, but I'm really just saying it more of. There's discussions about a city legendary. It'd be nice if they were one in the game that's a really, it's going to help you with Dark Dimension 3, and I think she's a prime candidate for it because she's cool. But that's really it.
I love Spider-Gwen. I have no say on whether or not she will actually be a legendary or when she'll get into the game, but
so it's guaranteed.
Hope it's soon. The other character that I have said from a while ago is a shout out to my friend who always suggests this character every time I ask his Blink. Who loves Blink. But I think people believe Blink is she's not mainstream enough or not not well known enough.
Did you watch the series? I forget I think it was on Fox. Ready? Yeah. The Gifted! That's what it was. That's right. It's totally on the tip of my tongue.
Totally, yeah.
We
totally just had that. We just knew that off the top of my head.
No editing. So your friend always mentions Blink.
That's his suggestion every time. He really likes Blink. Wants us to put her in. But
that could be it'd be a tough one to.
It's a tough to think of concepts for her, and it's a tough one just to be like, would people get excited about her, and how does she have synergy with anybody else essentially, and like.
I suppose you could do, and I don't know if she was technically on X-Force, but kind of a, those, I call them like second class, third class X-Men types, where it's like, so maybe it's...
She was in Days of Future Past, I guess. So
so it's kind of like, I don't know, maybe that's because there are, X-Men are huge, right? The family of X-Men are gigantic.
Yeah.
So, and I think... the tag was eventually introduced of Wave 1 Avengers, I think in the game is what it was called.
Yeah, whatever it's called.
Whatever it might be. And so I think you could do that potentially with X-Men 2, where it's kind of maybe it's a Wave 1 X-Men, Wave 2 X-Men, or whatever.
We technically have an X-Force label in the game.
True,
so you could use X-Force for some other stuff if you wanted to.
Yeah, I assume at some point there will be an X-Force type team again.
But that's another one, right? There's a lot of people that have been in X-Force technically, and X-Men or whatever. So
even Marauders, if you look at the list of Marauders, Gambit I think at one point was a Marauder.
Yeah.
He was obviously an X-Men. He's a huge fan favorite.
Obviously one of my favorites too.
Yeah.
I love Gambit as a kid, especially like X-Men animated series. Man, Gambit's awesome.
How'd you feel about Channing Tatum playing him potentially in a?
I'll reserve judgment until I see it.
Okay,
we'll see how it goes.
I think that's fair. I remember.
I like Channing Tatum, right? You like?
Yeah, he's fine. He's fine.
He's a funny guy.
I get a little worried. I think of G.I. Joe, and I'm kind of like,
okay. Did you see Logan's Lucky?
I didn't.
He was good.
Pretty good?
He was good.
I'll have to check it out. He was good in that, kind of a serious-ish?
No, not well. Serious. I don't know.
No, not so much.
Well,
I'll check it out.
He's serious. He's a serious movie, but the movie itself is more like a heist comedy, so it's kind of a weird.
If I can buy him as a character, like, I remember when I first saw Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, I'm like, that dude's not Wolverine. Like, Wolverine's a short, stocky, hairy, burly guy. And then all of a sudden, Hugh Jackman becomes Wolverine.
Yeah, Hugh Jackman's Wolverine.
Yeah,
it's gonna be really hard for somebody else to be Wolverine.
I know. I'm literally like, I obviously he's technically supposedly done, but
I can do it. If you're listening to Disney,
hit him up.
I'll grow out my hair
Hit him up.
and kind of like do a
you could grow it out.
Sideburn thing, and I can
bulk up a little bit.
Yeah.
And...
Wait, what do you? What are you saying?
No, I mean no. Gain some weight, not bulk up. I'm sorry. No.
It'll be really hard for somebody else to fill that.
I agree. I totally agree. So, what's something that you want to share, I guess, with the community in general about, maybe Foxnext approach to the game, or just, maybe a potential misconception, or just anything you want to share, just to let people know that, that kind of happens behind the scenes, or just your guys' overall dynamic as a company.
Trying to think of anything we haven't really covered. I mean, like, it's generally like, we are just a studio that makes this game, right? Maybe there's a misconception that there's some overarching evil empire forcing us to make money, and it is like, no, it's like, we're just a company making game. We're trying to make the game as best as possible. We have there's a lot of different push and pulls. Yes, the game also has to make money. In order to keep going, it costs money. My salary costs money.
I was going to say, you don't work for free, do you?
I don't work for free, I promise.
Yeah. As soon as your rent or house payments are free, then sure, yeah.
Right. I mean, I cost money.
Yeah. It's AJ's fault all those deals are so, always in the game.
So, I mean, we in addition to the game having to make money and it being expensive to run the game, we are also just trying to prioritize everything that has to go in, and we're a limited number of people that can do it. And it is not like some, honestly, in terms of that scenario of like some big evil corporation, even saying it makes me
I know, right?
Making like heavy-handed decisions about like, you must do this because I don't know anything about making games, but I just want quick dollars. Like, this happens. That is way less prevalent at this company than at other stuff that I've seen before. Like, it doesn't really happen too much.
Yeah, you guys try to make what you think is the best decision for the game,
right?
To have a long future.
We have some leverage. We have leverage to push around like things that we think are best for the game. Yeah. And yes, we absolutely understand that we care way more about long-term future of the game than we care about short-term success.
Yeah.
And if you even think about that, like, think about how hard that is, right? This game, it's been out for whatever I just said, March 2018. So it'll be 2 years next March. Like, that's such a long time, and we're talking about trying to extend. We're hoping the game keeps going more than twice that, right? Like, we want it to be like a super long running game.
Yeah.
Way more than twice that. Like, that's really hard to do, but think about how, or I'm not trying to compliment myself, I'm complimenting the team and like the designers of the game, that it's the legs that it's had so far of like of 2 years, and people like you still care about it and like make and have a stream. Yeah, I was like, we're sitting here talking about it. Like, that's not easy. Like, that's very impressive to me that our designers could do that.
No, I agree. I think you guys have made a. I mean, for me personally, it started with I saw the ads and was like, I love Marvel. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna try it out. And I'll have to give credit. The first thing that sucked me in was the animations. And
our animators are great.
Oh man, I mean, and they literally, and please tell them. And
I will not mention their names on stream because I don't know if they're okay with it. Yeah. But I will say if they ever watch, you guys are awesome. And, all of you, and totally. Yeah,
share it when you go back to. I mean, that is one of the things, and please make sure they know that. Like, one of the biggest things I see in this community is that group people are always complimenting. They are singing their praises all the time. I think the worst thing that I've ever heard about an animation in the game was when Rhino came out and they said it looked too much like Juggernaut. Okay. And fine. But it's like that's the worst thing, and it's the stuff they put together. Anytime a new character comes in, I always love checking it out. Some of the kill dynamics or the kill animations. I still love Psylocke. I don't know if you've ever watched it on ×1, but when she whips it around with a Psy whip and she jumps up in the air and pulls a Psy bow, they knocked it out of the park with that.
The fatality animations are particularly really good. I mean, I know probably most people like me don't see them much anymore, right? Like usually it's relegated to I'm gonna watch it once at one speed and then I'm gonna 3x my way through most stuff.
Right.
But they're really good. And just think about the amount of effort and much that we care about this stuff to know that most people 3x this game, but it's still really important to us that those animations are such high quality and so good, and there's a high bar there. And we have unique animations for fatalities, and we have
it's awesome
that are expensive, not just for manpower wise, but technically like that's not easy to fit that many the animation size that we have in the game. Like that's not easy to fit in.
And I mean I won't mention the game, but I recently tried out another game that's a very similar mold.
What?
I know. I broke. I just sorry. I just.
Just kidding.
Do whatever you want. Hey, didn't you TFT?
Play any game. Play any competitor game you want. It's fine. Let's play all.
But when I was playing it, the characters basically are stiff, jump, kind of go like that, and then jump back, and it's just and I'm like, okay, and I got past that for a little bit, and I was just like, I just couldn't keep doing it. I'm just like, there were a lot of things about that game that I did like, as far as ease and, but I think that game doesn't necessarily have the challenges that you guys have to overcome with different things that I won't get into. But yeah, so anyway, the point is that I've seen some of these other games that don't have the animations, and I think that the team that works on those have really done really good job.
Visual fidelity was definitely a pillar for us right from the beginning of just trying to be like, no, it has to meet these certain bars and it has to look this this good, if you want to call it, like whatever bar you feel it's at, however good you think it looks, it has to look this good, and we just have to do what is technically required to make that happen, which is a lot.
And
I think game.
Exactly. And I can imagine, you've got a device that's this big, it's got a certain level of memory, you've got a lot of different quality devices, and you've got to be able to make it in theory work on all of them the best you can. So as far as I'd say non-meta tune, what do you think is kind of what's your favorite one that you farmed or kind of went after, that you think people should kind of have fun playing with?
Sure. I would say Loki is definitely one. Definitely not meta definitely not super meta right now. But I just liked him as a character. I kind of really liked his kit. So at some point I was farming him and tearing him up just to try to be like, hey, can this team work? And I think I've made some sort of Mystic Controller team out of him with Mordo and Scarlet Witch and Vision or something like that.
Those guys were kind of fun to play around with.
It was okay,
a little bit.
And they were. It wasn't that great of a team, but I was just like, cool. I just think Loki's cool, so I'm gonna try to use him. Also, I like Scarlet Witch, who is also not really meta anymore, but I thought she was.
She had interesting.
I thought her kit was really interesting. I kind of liked her.
Yeah, I almost T4'd her special with the disperse. I still think that's a good one. I think it's high on my rankings, so it's still a good one to do. But
is it? Is Scarlet Witch still good?
So when you disperse, I believe it makes sure that defense up goes to everybody as opposed to like a 50% chance or something like that.
The special. Okay.
The special. So and her ultimate actually is a great T4 too, because now it guarantees defense down on everybody. So both are actually. So I think she's a great. I'll call her utility character.
Yeah, she's util. I mean, like I said, I had her high up at some point anyway because she was part of my rotation of Brotherhood teams back then, so she was fine. And I just kind of liked her regardless. My daughter really likes her too. So it's cool. My daughter's favorite characters are Psylocke and Scarlet Witch.
That's cool.
And surprisingly Venom. She really likes Venom.
How old's your daughter?
Like 5.
Oh my gosh.
And
my daughter's the same age, so.
Oh yeah, and like I don't something about his tongue, like the way again animators. Good job.
Yeah,
good
yeah.
job. Something with the tongue that really just finds it funny. And, like,
Yeah.
really makes
That's
sense.
funny. Yeah, my son Hulk smashes. I mean, he's like 2.5. He just walks around Hulk smash, Hulk smash. I've got to show my Wolverine claws. I'm like, no, not Hulk, Wolverine. But it's like Wolverine's a little bit of a violent character, so I'm kind of like I can't introduce him to Wolverine quite yet. But yeah, my daughter, she's mentioned more Wonder Woman. I know this is DC, but
Yes. No,
she's a fan of Wonder Woman. And
my
she likes Spider-Man a lot. So
both my girls really like Superhero Girls, DC Superhero Girls,
Yeah.
the show. So that yes.
the cartoon.
The cartoon.
Yeah, my daughter likes watching that too, and I'm like, all right, let's. When my son wants to watch it, I'm like, he wants to watch,
There's two versions of it too. There's like the one that's on right now, which is like the Cartoon Network one that is I don't really like as much, or at least I don't like as much for them. And then there's one that came before that was always used to be on Netflix. That you can only find on YouTube now, I think. Which was more of like it was like they're all in high school, and it was like
I've seen that one.
Yeah,
I've seen that one.
And so they really like that one. That one.
That one is kind of fun.
And it's just like a fun kid show.
Yeah. So tell me this: do you think Black Bolt is going to be worth it or not?
I think if you are a competitive meta player, I believe Black Bolt will be meta. I say I cannot.
No guarantees.
No guarantees. Please do not issue me money back guarantees.
I'm saying this. This is me saying this. Who means nothing.
Like I said, in addition to I think he can shake up the meta, which I find really interesting. I think
cool.
variance is really cool. I think he will just flat out be a good character.
Yeah.
I think he will be really strong, and probably worth it. I have no idea how far away, if depending on how far away you are from the characters you need for him.
I think we have. I think it was recently announced that he's going to come out for his first run in January sometime. So we've got a couple months or a month and a half or so. So, I know I'm going to try.
Everybody's decision, your own decision.
Yeah,
Whatever
you do what you want.
Do you.
Whatever he said is not meant to
bad
influence you.
decisions.
This is for me. I'm going to do it, and I'll talk to you guys about what I want to do.
As I said, I'm going to be close enough to be like, cool, I can try for him anyway, and I think he's going to be worth it and could give me an edge if I get him first run.
Yeah.
I have no idea if he's Phoenix level, or if he's like Sinister level, or if he's like somewhere useful as a
Iron Man level. There you go.
Sort of useful as a counter or something like that, or like somebody that you might put on the top meta teams, or somebody that you will always 100% put on the meta. I just don't know.
I got you.
But yeah, I think it'll be good.
Cool. All right, well, AJ, I really appreciate you stopping by and chatting.
You're welcome, formal WolverThor.
Yeah, it's he doesn't know me by that, so it's a little bit weird.
Yeah, you notice I did not mention his name the entire time.
Yeah, it was probably a little tough.
I didn't even mention the name Wolver because it was just too weird to address you.
Yeah. It's funny. I actually have some friends who I used to play WoW with, and my name in that game was Odin.
Oh,
and
nice.
Their names, I'm not sure they watch this, but Pet and Lith. They're married, and that's what we call each other. They call me Odin, I call them Pet and Lith. And it's just, anyway. So if you guys just happen to watch this, shout out to you guys.
I used to play WoW.
Oh, yeah, big time.
When? What's that? Like classic or like?
No, I started in just after Burning Crusade. Oh. So I started playing Burning Crusade as Lit, and then the Lich King came out, and then I got super into that. Cool. And then played it through. I quit right before the Panda one. I forget what that one was called. But when the Dragon Cataclysm was out, I was a tank, Druid tank.
Cool. What class? What race?
Alliance. So don't hate me. There's a lot of horde. Were you a horde?
No, I didn't actually. WoW was one of those things that I just tried to get into multiple times and couldn't. Right, like multiple times I like had friends who like, cool, new expansion, we're gonna do new accounts, come with us and come help, and I tried and I just couldn't stick at any point for the WoW lifetime. And I was just thought about like, I wonder what I'm missing. I know it's a good game.
Yeah,
I know it is a good game, so
it was really hard for me to quit that game. Really, really hard. The community was amazing. It's funny considered I thought it took up too much time, and we don't want to necessarily get into that for this game necessarily. Go watch my other videos if you want to know my feelings about that stuff here. But yeah, I mean, I definitely sometimes think about WoW. I'm like, could I get back in it? It's $15 a month. Again, thinking about the cost of mobile games these days, like that's nothing. But I stopped playing because I just I couldn't keep up. I think the difference with that one for me was in this game I feel like I can follow the strategy and the stats and the different things involved in it, whereas with a game like WoW, there was this website called Elitist Jerks, and I mean the math that these people went through was so formulaic that I was just kind of like, well, no, you don't want that piece because it doesn't do this with your crit rating, and no, you can't. And if you get this gem, you need it to be at this level because when you use your rip over here, the bleed when it ticks off. And I'm just like, okay, like I'm with that. I'm like, but can I just go through my rotation, make sure I keep my bleeds up? I want to focus on agility and strength. And then once it started to get into all these other things, I just started being like, okay, I feel it just felt different where it branched out so quickly and easily that I didn't like it. Whereas I think with Marvel Strike Force, I'm looking at some basic stats. There's, I have this stat ranking where it's health, it's armor, it's focus, it's resistance, and it's 0 through 10,000, whatever the stat ceiling is. And there's not necessarily a threshold that you see that's like once you hit 2,000 focus, that's when everything hits, and that's very much what WoW seemed to be like, where it was you have to get to this certain point and then you get diminishing returns. So you switch once you get to 2,000 agility, that's when you got to focus on strength, and the way to do that is you get this gear all the way to here and then you switch from that to here and you go all the way here, and it was just so you jump around so much, and then they'd change it. And so a patch would come out, and it's like, all right, forget everything we just talked about. It's now this. And I'm like,
did you play any other MMOs or any other MMO-like stuff like Destiny or something like that?
I played, what it was called. It was after WoW, and it was this open world game. I can't remember what it was called for the life of me, but I remember being this tiger-like character, and it was this you'd have these massive groups go out and fight a beast that just randomly shows up in the world. And if you guys kill the beast, you get rewards. And then there'd also be set time for wars. And there were different factions in the game. And over the 24-hour period, you'd always be fighting to keep different camps. And you'd get points over the course of this game where if you kept the amount of camps. And it was crazy because you'd want to be in this cluster of alliances that would control this area, and then after a certain point in time it was kind of like, okay, well, we're all in bed, so someone in Asia would come over and take it and they'd get the point. It was a really interesting dynamic. So it was always this real-time fighting, and then you'd also have these real world bosses that come out and you'd try to kill them and get gear. So anyway, that was really it was a huge Civilization. I don't know if you ever played Sid Meier's Civ.
Yeah, I played a lot of. Also, our mutual friend and I used to play a lot of Civ together and a lot of stuff. So I was really into Civ 4, and then I was really into Civ 5, and then I did not play as much Civ 6.
Yeah, but, I played for a little bit, and I love the game, but it feels very. As much as they tweak it, it's still kind of the same, and I'm kind of like.
I'm again, still a good game. It's just like maybe that's just not the time in my life where I'm playing 1,000 hours of Civ or whatever anymore. But
I've played a 24-hour straight Civ game before, and that was a long time ago. But
Civ is an amazing game. Sync we call that the one more turn games. Right?
Yes. One more turn. 4 hours later, one more turn.
Yep, absolutely. That is the definition of those type of games. Yes. Where you're just like. Yeah, but I could. Okay, one more turn. All right. Yeah. And then if you, a lot of people talk about stuff like that similar feeling with a game called Stardew Valley. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Stardew Valley. It's like a Harvest Moon-like game, but it's that thing of you do stuff, you're farming. It's like a very light, very kind of I don't know how to describe it. Light. It's not action game. It's like a farming game, but it's day by day, right? So it's like a real. So it's like
real time day.
Not real time day, but you will do the day, and then you will go to bed, and then the next day your crops will, you water them, and you do more stuff in the town, but everything that you can do runs on a day cycle. So a lot of people call that the new type of one more turn game, because now it's sort of like, okay, wait, I woke up, but now I can go get I have enough money to go get this from the shop that's open, and now I can go give this thing to, okay, I'll just do this, and then I'll stop, and then it'll tick over the next day. And
That's hilarious.
Okay, now I can go do, okay, wait, yeah.
And it just keeps
Yeah,
going
keeps
and
going.
going and going. Yeah, no, I feel that.
Started good game.
Yeah.
People want to check it out.
Yeah, check that out if you guys want. So again, thank you guys for stopping by. AJ, again, thanks for stopping.
Thanks for having me.
Hope you guys learned something about AJ, Foxnext, myself. We talked about some personal things.
I hope I didn't screw up and say something I'm not supposed to. So I don't know, whatever.
I don't think we gave away any super secret.
I hope not. If anybody heard something that weren't supposed to hear, would you mind just like not talking about it? Would you mind just like don't pretend you didn't hear it?
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I think that's fine.
Right?
Yeah.
The internet's usually pretty good about that.
100%.
Pretty good about that type of thing,
100%.
right?
Yeah, and they won't troll about it.
Yeah,
It'll go.
Great.
Yeah, it'll go. It gets stored away.
Great.
So
Great.
yeah, you're covered there. All right, guys. Thanks for stopping by. And as normal, click that like. Hammer. Actually, you got to hammer down the like button. Notifications, all that stuff. Tell your friends. Appreciate you for sticking around this long, and hope to see you again soon. Thanks.